Welcome, everybody. My name is Mina Jane. I'm the director of the Ashland Public Library in Massachusetts, and I'm always excited to be here with Jody, aka at Red Red Reviews, and Instagrammer extraordinaire, and reading all the horror and thrillers you can imagine. So we're going to be talking about all of her recommendations in just a minute, but I wanted to say thanks to the Friends of the Ashland Public Library for supporting all of our programs, and I'd like to thank Jody for letting us share this program with other libraries because, of course, when libraries work together, we make magic. So Jody's going to go through her recommendations. If you have books that you're reading and enjoying, feel free to put them in the chat. I will send out a list afterwards, so you don't have to be, furiously writing unless you like to do that. And of course, in the chat, please let us know what you're reading, and I will include that in the recap as well. If you have questions, please feel free to throw them in to the chat or the Q&A, and I will moderate them to Jody. Jody's one of my favorite people. We laugh all the time.
You're one of my favorite people too.
Aw. Well, I mean, you have to, right? I mean, you're reading like these dark stories. You gotta have to get a good laugh somewhere. So tell us what you've been reading lately, Jody, and really enjoying.
I've been reading a mix. I've been going to a lot of author events this past month. So my reading is kind of like limited because, if I take a night off to go to an event, that's a night where I'm not getting reading in. So I've read less books this month, which is not impressive. But I did read a bigger variety than I normally read. I have a little bit of horror. I have some true crime that I want to talk about and some thrillers. So because this is mainly horror, I would like to start off with horror. I'm going to start with, I think she's an indie author. I've not heard of her before. Rebecca Baum with a book called The Brood. Look at how, I don't know if you can see how really pretty that cover is.
Mm-hmm. With the flowers.
That was what, yeah, it drew me to the book immediately. I have a thing for floral covers, especially if they're with horror, because it's going to be like an earthy sort of thing. So this book is about a woman who is like a high executive lawyer, and she's in the middle of a whole bunch of crap, and she decides to just take a drive out of New York City. She keeps driving and driving, and her car breaks down right outside of the in a forest, and I don't remember how, but somehow she loses consciousness. Oh yeah, she got into an accident. And she wakes up in someone's house. She has no clue where she is. It's a very strange woman that has kidnapped her. Mm-hmm. And the woman is convinced that this is her mom. Her mom ran away, and she's convinced that this is her mother coming back. And she's there to help with the brood. Now, when I say the brood, they're talking about cicadas. This is a cicada cult. Totally freaked out by this. I've told you before, bugs freak me out, right? I don't know why I did this, why I put myself through this. So there's like this cave where the bugs all kind of like live, and they become like this god, and this woman worships them, and she becomes a host for the next line of these cicadas. And she makes this woman who she kidnapped, saved, a host as well. And so now the woman can't really leave because she's got to expel the cicada. Oh, Mina, I know you're making faces. I had a hard time in the middle of this book when they're talking about like the bugs under the flesh. And the way she describes it, it's so gross. It's so gross. It was so gross. And the way that I reviewed it, I'm like, it was so disgusting and gross, but it was such a good book. If you can get around, I can't do bugs. I really can't do bugs in my body.
Okay. All right. Hold on a second. We have a bunch of people in the audience here. Yeah. Catherine's like, just no. But Jody reads cults and dismemberment and, children getting killed and, or hurt. By tortured dogs. Yeah. No, dogs you won't allow.
Yeah.
But she doesn't like bugs. Isn't that interesting?
I think it's so I can do normal bugs, like ants and stuff like that. Like I've read books where ants have killed people like in ant mounds or whatever. But this is when it comes to larvae and parasites, that's just gross. Cicadas are crunchy. Yes, they are. And she goes into them taking off their shells and their big beady red eyes. I have some dry heave moments. I know this is not selling the book, but if you were into that sort of thing, I recommend this. It's a really, really thin book. But there's a story in there, which actually is really good. Um, and there's redemption in the end, but it's just you got to get past the bug horror because I guess it's bug body horror. Oh,
Yeah.
just oh, it was so great.
Beverly, poor thing, is eating dinner. Sorry, Beverly.
Yeah, well, see, it didn't get that one didn't give me nightmares, but it was definitely something that I thought about for a couple days, and I ended up messaging the writer. I'm like, "What the hell's wrong with you?" She's like, "I only because you loved it." It's like I kind of did, but it was so gross.
But like, there's a charm. Not, I don't want to say a charm in that, but like something that can take you out of like your own fears and things like that, and create a story around
Yeah,
that is believable. Like, I mean, like how? I don't know.
it's.
Why do you
I
do
think
this to
it could
yourself?
be believable if you think about people that live in the mountains and the woods and live off the land because that's essentially what this woman was. But the unbelievable part of the book was them having to be the host for these bugs, which
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure cicadas don't need to be like in meat to breed to do their thing. So that was like the gross part. But it was good. It was actually really good and it was gross.
Okay. Well,
Selling point.
I had the same thought as Catherine. Shades of Alien. When they were on that planet and the thing came out of. Anyways,
Yeah.
yeah.
Moving on to
Let's please move on.
this is not a lighter note, but it's a fun dark note. This is My Ex, the Antichrist by
Mm.
Craig Dilu. This book was a lot of fun. I didn't think I was going to enjoy it as much as I did. It's about a woman who she knows she wants to be a singer. She wants to have a rock band. It's like her dying dream to have a rock band. So her and her boyfriend kind of form this rock band, and her boyfriend is like this amazing guy that everybody is drawn to. He's super hot, and he's like just everybody, you can't say no to him kind of thing. And they form this band, and as people are going to the band, they're realizing that their songs kind of become hypnotic, kind of put the crowd in a trance and make the crowd do bad things.
Oh.
So when she realizes that her boyfriend really is the Antichrist,
Hmm.
he didn't quite know it, but then he knows it. And then it becomes like there's the love story in there. There's a lot going on. Um, but it's actually really good. And they have to do the battle of the bands to save the world from the apocalypse that's going to come, which is totally unbelievable. But they did a really great job in this book. Now, I actually did this in audio, and there were multiple narrators. It was like, I don't know if I told you to listen to Daisy Jones and the Six. It was a lot like that audio kind of form, where there's a different narrator for each character, and they tell their side of the story, what they perceived happened with coming up to the end of the world and how they saved the world. And it just they picked a really great group of narrators for the book, so I do recommend doing it on audio. I'm sure the print's probably good, but I think the audio probably takes it next level because you get that whole musical vibe to it. So it was really good. The Antichrist is, you don't want to mess with him. He's kind of a bad guy,
Hmm. Yeah, would be.
and not giving a spoiler away, but they do kind of like conquer him, but he comes back. So there's that.
It would be hard to conquer him. But is that a new to you author?
Yes, that's why I don't know how to pronounce his last name. I got to Google
Oh,
how to pronounce Delawi.
still,
Yes, new to me. This came out in July. Um, I don't know if there's. Oh no, he wrote episode 13. I don't know what that is. So he's not a new author, but he's new to me, and I really enjoyed this, which means I will look at his other stuff.
how long did that take you to read that? It's a tome.
I mean, I did it on audio, so it was like
Oh,
a few
hmm,
days at work, which kind of
okay.
like goes real quick.
Mhm. Ask her what she does for work. Instead of listening to audiobooks.
All day long. It's my
Yeah, that's
life.
right. I
Um,
mean, even as a librarian, I don't do that.
no, but the
Oh,
audiobooks are
Christine says his book, Suffer the Children, is a huge favorite of hers.
really. I
Mm.
remember John Saul wrote a book, I think, called Suffer the Children back in the 90s. That was one of the first horror books I read was John Saul books because they were like baby horror. And I think he did a book with that title as well. But I will have to look at that because I really like this book. So I'm all about seeing what else he has.
Mhm.
Uh,
Would you,
so,
vampire, this is Vampire Children.
oh, I love
Children.
vampire children.
I told you the kids. But would you consider Mary Higgins Clark, her early books, to be horror-ish? No.
No.
Okay.
Why are you trying to make that a thing?
I am because
You're
I'm
not.
a
It's
weenie.
not going to happen.
I can read those books though, and I like them. For anybody who doesn't know, I'm a horror weenie. I cannot read a lot of these books because I would have terrible nightmares. But there's a reason why people read them. It's like cathartic and it's like a safe place to read, right?
Yeah, and it gets you out of the mind zone of your everyday life. You'd
Yeah.
rather read like it's like the accident on the side of the road that you slow down for. You really don't want to see that body in the windshield, but you want to see that body in the windshield because it's going to take you away from your own life.
And you're glad it's not you.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I'm not going
And
to be a host for Larvae.
you don't know that. All right, next.
Okay, so now we're going on to some lighter stuff. I think that was all I did for horror this month. So next I have a thriller it's a spinoff of another series. So I've told you before that I love Tessa Weger, and I've been told I say her last name wrong, but I'm not going to correct myself because that's how I'm going to say it forever. Her series is the Shanna Merchant series, and there's like six books in the first part of the series, and then she decided to do a spin-off series with characters from the original series, but they're now the main focus rather than Shayna. And the first book in that series is In the Bones, and I'm going to stop right now because I can see that they can't believe I read Daisy Jones. I'm going to tell you right now, Daisy Jones is one of my favorite books, even though I cried through it and it's like romance. I know I do have a heart. I know people don't believe me, but it's maybe this big and it beats a little bit when I read stuff like that. Anyways, that made my day. So this book is it's a spinoff of Shayna's the Shayna series, and it's actually from the perspective of Shayna's husband, which you get introduced to in the first the real series, and seeing his perspective and the police chief's perspective as they hunt down a Frogger. Do you know what a Frogger is? It's not just an Atari game. Apparently, that is the term for people that go and live squat in vacation homes when those people aren't there and they jump from house to house, and they can be living in the house while you're there and not know, which I do think about often.
I would say I would aspire to that. That would be kind of interesting.
So I think it would be cool because I love listening in on conversations, and I think I would like, I could live in someone's wall or in their attic and try to hear what's going on. I don't want it done to me.
That's
I
true.
think about that a lot because I have a lot of good places to hide in this house, and I'm always thinking like, you don't check every closet for you to go to bed. I don't check my attic for you to go to bed. So what if there's somebody up there? That's scary as hell to me.
That's right.
So in this book, there's a Frogger that's jumping from house to house, and she discovers a body in one of the houses she's staying in, and the story's about who that person is. There's a police investigation. It's a lot that happens. There's a celebrity hockey player that, there's outsiders going into this little town, and those outsiders are the problem. He's one of the problems. It's that kind of story. I really, really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the fact that I got to see more of the characters from the first series expanded. So as a fan of the series, this was like, I don't know, it was like a cool thing for me. But I do like her writing style, so I recommend this book.
Is it, so if it's a thriller, is it the police that are investigating, or is it like the person living in the house?
Well, the police are investigating, so it really is from the perspective of the husband, who is a police officer, the police chief, who is inadvertently tied to this, and a woman that was cleaning the house that had the Frogger jump out on her. But I think the whole point of the story is the Frogger. Frogger's where it's at.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'm really fascinated by that, so I'm not going to read it, but I might have to look it up a little bit.
Why do I even bother? You can't just throw that in there. I'm kind of like, I got some light things in here that I know are Mina worthy. That is not, there's no gore in that. You could read that and like sleep at night. Well, no, probably not with the Frogger.
I'm at the Daisy Jones level. Like, that's my thing. But I appreciate like all of the variety that you bring to my life and to all the people that are here. And actually, Catherine just said, I don't actually read that stuff, but she'll try this one. Wow. Good job,
it's
Jody.
Really good. So I'm gonna jump to. We'll go true. I've been on a true crime kick because I really want to watch the Monster Ed Gein story, and I haven't had time because I've been reading. So I already know his story, so I wasn't going to read up on him. So I had some books come. They always throw books at me, and I'm like, oh, I'll pick something true crimey. I don't have the book on me to show you a cover of, but the book is called Sisters in Death by Eli Frankel. The cover's purple.
I'm going to look it up.
Okay. So the Sisters in Death book is about the Black Dahlia, which is like one of the most famous unsolved cases out of California. The woman was pretty much bisected. She was all mutilated, lots of good stuff. Her blood was drained out of her body. She was dumped on the side of the road. They could not figure out who her killer is. And to this day, they have not found a killer. There it is. It's a really pretty cover. So they still haven't solved that case. Well, this author did some research and connected the Black Dahlia to, I think, what he is calling the Prairie Heiress, who was out of Kansas, which was a woman who, a young lady. She wasn't even, I don't want to call her a woman because she was young. She was like in her early 20s, I think. She was murdered. Her blood was drained, and she was mutilated in almost the same fashion. You know how Dahlia had the whole, they ripped up her face right here. Do you remember hearing about that? Have you heard about that? They gave her that smile, almost like a Joker smile. He didn't do that with the woman out of Kansas. I can't think of her name. I want to say it's Leslie. But he did other stuff to her. And now they're saying that Leslie might have been his first victim. And the guy that the author is tying to both crimes, there's no way he could not have done it because he was there in Kansas when this happened. There's so many signs that lead to him. And then in California, he was there in California at the same exact time as the Dahlia happened. And he had the place to take her to and hold her captive for 3 days to do the horrible things he did. So you do kind of get some satisfaction where you are given a person, and then they profile that person who they believe the killer is in this book. You kind of got the closure, but there's no closure because the case is still unsolved because the person that is the suspect, or he was a suspect at one point, but for this book, he really is the main suspect. He's dead. So there's really no justice for either of these women. They're still considered cold cases, even though we're pretty sure we know who did it. You know, I've gone this long, and it's like, what did they just now find out who Jack the Ripper was? Like, that was a recent thing. So it just blows my mind that it takes so long. And the Dahlia and the Prairie Heiress, I think that was like in the 30s or 40s that this happened. There was no DNA. They did do fingerprints back then. But with the stuff that we have going on since like the 90s, they should have been able to do DNA testing. I don't believe they did on this, and there was stuff that they gathered for evidence. So why now are we able to figure this out? I don't know. It was just, the book was really, really interesting. It was really well written. It wasn't boring. It was a lot of facts, a lot of background on both of the women. And then he kind of like, you have like a chapter of each of the women, and then you have a chapter of the guy, and then like the closing chapter is like all of the facts pretty much rewritten out for you, but tied together so you see where they're going and how it all makes sense. And there's no way you can read this book and not think this person killed it. It was great. It was a great true crime book. Like, awesome.
So, you know, we were just talking about how horror can be like an escape. So why would you turn, I guess I wonder, like, why do people turn to true crime? Because that is not an escape. This is something that actually happened and could happen to you, right? So
this is the problem. I have one part of my brain that wants the unrealistic, but then I have the other part of my brain that's like, I want to know what's happening now, so I'm aware. True crime for me is, like I always say, I raised my daughter on true crime. I want her to be able to look for the signs, to protect herself, see what's, be aware. And I think true crime has given that awareness to me and other people who read it. Also, I like looking into the minds of these crazy murderers. Like, what made them do it? Is it their childhood? Did they snap? Are they just psychos? Are they doing it for fun? You've got, for no stupid reason, people killing. It blows my mind that you could just get up one morning and just slay people.
I guess I think like I think that the stories that are told in true crime are the most sensational. So like it doesn't really give you like the likelihood of you being a victim of a serial killer is pretty low, right? But
Yeah,
the
I'm short, I'm fat, I got black hair, brown hair. No one wants to mess with this. But my daughter is adorable and skinny, and I would kidnap her in a heartbeat.
I've got nothing for that, people. Nothing, nothing, nothing at all. Let's go. Let's move on.
Well, in the same vein of true crime, after I read the Black Dahlia, I was just in such a fix. I'm like, I'm going to continue with this vein. I started a book that is written by a prisoner. And the story, I know, right? I go from one extreme to another. This is how my brain works. Like, I'm never satisfied. I want more. The Tragedy of True Crime by John J. Lennon is written from a man who has been incarcerated for like 30 years. When he was 17, he killed a guy that was like a rival drug dealer. He killed him, wiped him out, and then he was sent away to prison. When you're 17, you think a little bit differently. He's now like in his 50s, 60s. He's got a college degree while in prison. He's lived the prison life. He's talked to other prisoners. He's a more rounded person, completely remorseful, respects the victim's family. Like he's done a complete turnaround. He's bettered himself while in prison. If he had never gone to prison, would he have followed the same path? Probably not. So he writes the story, telling snippets of his story, along with the snippets of 4 other prisoners and their stories, where you have someone who killed their abuser. You have someone who it was an accidental killing, and I can't remember what the other 2 were. But he goes into each of those crimes, and he puts a little bit of himself in each of those because he can commiserate with them. But as much as he's telling the story about his time in prison, his crimes, he's also trying to shed light on what true crime is doing to the prisoners. Now, do we have sympathy for prisoners? You committed a crime. This is the question. I've discussed this book with a couple of people, and they're like, I don't care. They shouldn't be allowed to have college while they're in prison. This is this. Well, I don't necessarily agree with that. I think that if they have the chance to get out, the college will help them hopefully leave real normal lives afterwards. Well, this one gentleman, John, was asked to do an interview for a true crime documentary about his crime. And he was under the assumption they were going to put him in a remorseful light. He was going to be able to tell his story and how sorry he was for it. And that's not what they did, even though they told him they did. And this is becoming a common thing when they highlight a prisoner. They just completely dramatize the crime, and you have all those, when they throw those little B clips in a movie that you're watching or documentary that you're watching, where it's like the dark alley and someone's stabbing someone bloody and they're all like menacing and then they peel out, that kind of thing. They over dramatize what he did, and it wasn't like that. And because of that, he was denied parole, because the people that were in charge of his parole hearing had watched the documentary. So he talks about, we all love true crime, but you really shouldn't trust everything that you're seeing on TV or hearing in a podcast. You probably shouldn't trust anything that you're reading either. He's a prisoner. Can we trust him? He's in jail. I mean, he sounds like a pretty intelligent guy from this book. It was really great. And he's done really amazing for himself. And he teaches in prison, and he's just sounds like a stand-up guy with a sordid past. But it was just a fascinating book. I really, really, really enjoyed it. And I've been like trying to find somebody to talk to about it. So I'm forcing it on my boss's husband. I told him today, I'm like, you're going to read this and we're going to discuss this. So
I have done that as well. Like I really liked a book. I've made somebody read it so I could talk about it. Because when you read a really good book, you do want to have a conversation about it. And it sounds like this has a lot of, I'm going to say, meat to it, where you can't.
Layers. There's a lot going on in this book. He also talks about how the prison hierarchy, how, once you think a prisoner is getting sent to prison, you would think that they stay in that prison for life. They get bussed around to different prisons like 10 times in a whole sentence. He's this gentleman's out of New York. He's been to Sing Sing and then moved to another prison and back to Sing Sing. So it's like you have to start over. If there's a constant change up. I didn't know that was a thing. Like it blows my mind.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, I have to look. Maybe that's one I could actually read and learn a little something about.
I mean, there's a shanking in it. Mina, can you deal with a shanking?
I'll let you know.
I was listening to the audiobook of this at work, and I had walked away from the audiobook for a minute. My boss was sitting doing something, and she heard them talk about the shanking, how he got shanked in the gut 6 times, and how they put poop on the tip of their shanks. Did you know that's a thing?
No, I did not.
Oh yeah, because if they're not
Maybe I
going to
won't
kill
read
you
this.
with the blade, that you're going to get a bacterial infection and die anyways. That's great. I learned something, right? I now know how to shank someone properly. But my boss was hearing this at the time, and she's like, "What are you listening to?" I'm like, "This is real. This is real true crime." I'm like, "This is not made up stuff. You can't be grossed out."
But yet we are.
Yeah. Oh, it was so gross.
All right, last one, right?
Okay, last one. So Hunter's Heart Ridge by Sarah Stewart Taylor. This is the second book in her series. The first book is Agony Hill. It takes place in a town called Bethany. That's a made-up town in Vermont, and it's not a cozy. It's borderline cozy. Meaning you could read these and come back at me and be like, "Oh my God, Jody, I thought you were better than that." This is 100% in the cozy realm. It's a light mystery, good mystery. The series starts with the first book. The detective Warren moves into Bethany, and he's getting the lay of the land, and there's a murder he has to solve, and he's getting to know the people around him more. That's the first book. The second book, you get more of his backstory, his neighbor's backstory, and you're getting more about the town. I think all the books in the series are going to be just townies doing bad things, which is what tends to happen in cozies. But this is a great town. You're getting quintessential Vermont in this, and it's in the 60s, so they're dealing a lot with Vietnam and the effects that that's happening on small town life and progress happening in small town. So
I'm thinking good. Like it's probably like when Bernie Sanders was like a middle-aged man.
Yeah, I bet it is. It's just a whole different way of life back then. You know, they don't have the technology. So in this book, he gets stuck in a snowstorm, and he's stuck at a hunting lodge with a whole bunch of people that are suspects in this murder. And it's like Clue, where he's got to figure out who the murderer is and if they're in the room with him. But like, there's no phones, there's no ways, there's no cell phone, there's none of that in this book. And there's, they can't even plow the driveway, sort of thing. So it's very, I don't know, I kind of prefer to have the books that are set in the older without all the technology, because then they have to use their brains to solve things, right?
Yep. Well, and it's not, I don't want to say it's easy. Like sometimes technology makes it more difficult, but it just seems like more actual detecting as opposed to Googling.
Yeah. Yeah. I am the best Google detective in the world. But if you put me on the scene of a crime, I'd be like, maybe not.
I know. I once interviewed Suzanne Brockman, who writes romantic suspense, and she said that now with cell phones, like she has to find a way for her characters to not be able to communicate. The cell phone towers were down because of a storm, or they dropped their phone in the toilet and it's not dried out or whatever. Like they have to come up with ways, because otherwise it would be solved in a second.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's not easy now for writers to do. You really have to think ahead. It's technology's right there.
Yeah. Yeah. And maybe that's why people like historical fiction too, because it kind of takes all that away and make, it's a different time kind of thing. But
I think they just like the fashion. Historical fiction is all about the fashion to me. That's all I want. And the swooning. Oh, who's going to pick me to be their wife? Oh wait, am I thinking romance?
Yeah,
no, that happens in historical fiction
exactly
too.
how it is.
Don't swoon.
It is so funny. You have to have the fainting couch and all of that. But you read so widely. It's impressive to me. Like, I know that you sort of stay within the mystery genre, but like you really do, like, I mean, cozies, hard thrillers, all the way to, really harsh.
I try to read all of that, but I'm not going into Jane Austen. You're not going to get me there. You're not even going to try to get me there, because I'm going to fight you. I know how to shank you and make it work now. So I'm very much like, I'll do all things thriller, mystery, and horror, stay in that lane. Because that was so many similarities in those three genres with trying to solve a case or whatnot, which I just love. I don't want I read a book recently that had spice in it. It was like, why? I don't need this. I don't need to know how they're doing it. This isn't important to the story.
Because I never read books without some hanky-panky in it. So we're a good team. But we are out of time. I know some people have to go, but yes, PI with the payphone. Yeah, that, I mean, talk about dirty. So Jody is not going to be with us in December. We're not having a meeting, but we're starting up again in January. So I hope you all will sign up again and join us for a whole nother year of this. Jody, thank you again. And I love your recommendations, even if I can't read them.
Thank you.
It sounds terrible. Thank you all for being with us and your wonderful comments and discussion in the chat. And I will see you all hopefully sooner or later.
Bye.
Yep. Have a good night.